I don't trust anybody anymore. But I will tell you, we have no country left. Let's just give you some of the headlines from today. Harris calls for higher taxes on investment income. Now, what is that going to do, Stu? Just noodle this with me. She's giving more taxes on investment income. What do you think that is?
Some would say,
what would that do?
When you tax something, you discourage it. So if you're taxing investments, you're discouraging investments in American companies.
Yeah, but she says she's only going to be taxing people who have $1 million or more.
She can say that all she wants. She's lying, though.
Yeah, I know. But she's also, just so you know, she's only going after the people who have money to invest. She's not going to go after the poor people on the investment thing. So,
good. Really? She's not going to hit the the people with massive debt
No.
with no income on their massive 401ks?
Right. No, they're not going to. Great story about workers feeling Bidenomics pain as job creators fear the worst for Kamala. And this is what's happening. If you think your employer is going to be like, you know what, I'm going to add jobs. If Kamala gets in, you're out of your mind. They are all going to batten down the hatches. By the way, job openings fell more than expected in July, which is, what does that even mean? U.S. steel shares plunge as Biden-Harris prepare to block Nippon Steel takeover. People familiar with the matter told the Washington Post that President Joe Biden is preparing to announce that he will block the $14.9 billion deal. U.S. shares have fallen now 41% this year. Kamala Harris, the presidential nominee, said U.S. Steel should remain American-owned and American-operated. That was during a campaign event in Pittsburgh. Well, that would be good. That would be good. I'd love that. Is anybody offering that to U.S. Steel?
Not according to U.S. Steel, which is kind of the issue, which they say. And I'm interested in your thoughts on this because, it's not China, right? It's not Russia. This is an ally, a close ally, Japan, who is trying to purchase U.S. Steel. Obviously, U.S. Steel being like this iconic company makes us feel weird. It has the word U.S., United States in it. But like their point is like, we are screwed without this deal. We're leaving Pittsburgh. We're firing a bunch of people. A lot of union jobs go away if you do not let us go through with this deal. And I can kind of say, I kind of have some understanding of like why you'd be hesitant to want U.S. Steel to go into foreign hands. Like it kind of makes sense to me. And like, so.
Oh no, I don't think it should. But you have to, as a country, you can recommend against it. But do you have a plan to save it? I mean, do you have a plan? What is the plan? Nope, we're not going to approve that deal. Okay. Are you working on anything that maybe you get some Americans to pool their money together and say, you know what, we think this is important? U.S. Steel, this is critical infrastructure. If we can't make steel in the United States, we're screwed. But don't worry about it. She's got everything under control. And you're not going to have to worry about cars or tractors or things like that. Because we're all going to be living in 15-minute cities. And if you don't believe me that you will own nothing, and you'll be happy about it, let me just share this. Who owns the environmental services? USDA now is monetizing natural processes under the Sustains Act. So the Sustains Act we told you about a couple of weeks ago. We told you that you had to speak out against this and stop it. Doesn't look like it's going to be stopped. But there's a free market now on environmental processes. So in other words, one environmental process is trees breathe in carbon dioxide and they breathe out air. Okay? So they take the pollution and breathe it in. And then they give us what we need to live as they breathe out. It's kind of a weird thing. Haven't heard anybody talk about that for a long, long time now. But that's how they survive and thrive. But now, for instance, I've planted in the last 10 years, I can't count the number of trees that I have planted up in a treeless area. And I may not own those trees now. If the USDA has their way, and this is already passed, they're just looking on how to implement it, the secretary is allowed to go in and say, you know what, these trees are really important. That water, you're pumping that water out of your well. Well, that's not your water. That's part of the environmental process. And we don't think you should pump any of that water. They will, well, I can't say this. They will regulate, but they won't own. They are claiming the processes that are on your land. So you may not own the air. You may not own the tree. You may not own the water. Nothing. What is your land worth without water, especially in the West? What is your land worth without water, farmers? What is your land worth when you can't till the soil yourself because the minerals and the soil is not really owned by you? You own the space, but you don't own anything other than, maybe your house if it's already built. Who owns that? Well, people like Bill Gates will own that. Bill Gates will come in and say, I just want to save the planet. So I'm going to just buy up all of this farmland, and I'm going to buy the air, and I'm going to buy the trees, and I'm going to buy everything. So that way, when somebody wants to farm on it, like these farmers that have been farming on it for generations, I can tell them no, because it'll hurt the environment. And all of this is done by the secretary of the USDA. I don't even know who that is. Do you? This is why our government is out of control. Who is to answer for this? It's all at the secretary's discretion. No, thank you. No, thank you. So the Department of Agriculture and USDA, they administer the program. And the secretary, could you look up the Secretary of Agriculture, Stu? Because I don't know that. I don't know who that is. I'd like to know what brainiac we have put in on that. But I'm sure they're smarter than all of us put together.
A name from the past, Secretary Tom Vilsack. Remember him?
Yeah.
Former
I don't know why
senator?
I remember him,
Yeah.
but I do remember him. Yeah, good. So we have a senator that, and senators know so much about farming and land, and trees and all of that. I think that's fantastic. So the new law sets out how the secretary is to determine ownership of the environmental services that are created on private land through the federal conservation program. Contributing entity, the one who contributes the private funding to the conservation programs, is to prescribe the terms of ownership of the environmental services, subject to the approval of the secretary. So that's great. That's great. The landowner really doesn't have anything to say about it. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. What? You can live in a city, a 15-minute city. That's not a problem. You're not going to be able to buy a car because we're not going to make our own steel, and you're not going to really have a job because you don't have to really have a job because you won't own anything. You'll just rent it from your overlords. If you think this sounds like hyperbole, read the news. Read the news. You can get our daily newsletter, which has just the news stories of the day, and you can find these and share them with your friends and family. What do you mean they're monetizing the natural processes under the Sustains Act? This is a way for them to take control of the land through private-public partnerships. So the public owns the land. Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, it's still a private person, but he's, part of the public. So he owns the land, and then he partners with the government to control it. And I think that is exactly the direction we all want to go in. I really don't understand how people, I understood when it was my word saying, I feel like this is what's happening. We're so far beyond that. When I came out with the book on the WEF and was starting to tell you about how you were going to, own nothing and be happy, I could even understand that you could say, well, that's what all the documents say, but they're not going to do it. I can't understand your burying your head in your sand in the sand anymore. There's no excuse for it anymore. This is not my opinion. You can do your own homework. You'll find all of this being done, not talked about, but being done. What else are you waiting for? What else are your friends and your family and your neighbors waiting for? We have to start talking to our friends and our family, not about politics, not about Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. We need to start talking to them about principles and the things that are actually happening. These things are actually happening. The economy is going to the crapper. The jobs going to the crapper. If they believed in all of these things, why wouldn't they do them right now? Because they don't believe in turning the economy around. They don't know how to do it. And what they're going to do is put you all back in chains. You will work for the government, how the government wants you to work, where they want you to work, where they want you to live. You will own nothing by 2030. This election takes us to 2028. Do you think maybe this is an important election?